Progress.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Lovecraft Easing podcast. I'm Mike Davis. Got Matt here, Alan, Pete, DeBronzo. I didn't expect Pete after the busy weekend he had, but
I got home 24 hours early.
oh, well, that's great.
We were only going to drive 10 hours on Saturday, and we just powered through.
Are we going to talk about that or just leave that off the table for now?
If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it, but after we get introductions done.
Yeah. We're also going to talk about the movie that Matt showed last night on Lovecraft Easing Movie Night, Donnie Darko. So, which is always fun. There's so many fan theories to talk about. So, yeah, Matt, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Matt. I run Lovecraft Easy Movie Night, and we do have a podcast prize. It is a hardcover copy of the yearbook from the Miskatonic High comic book strip. If you don't know about this comic, it's been every issue has been done with a Kickstarter, and it's been going for some years now about a club at Miskatonic High School that gets involved with mythos dealings. And so they did a yearbook, which has some nice stories in it, some art. There's lots of nice things about it. If you want to try and win a copy, send an email to easyandprizes@gmail.com and put Miskatonic in the subject line. We'll draw a winner in 6 or 8 weeks, and who knows, you might win.
Not 608 weeks. That's what
you know how well I type.
Kenneth wrote in that chat, 11 years for a winning draw is a bit excessive. So, yeah. Before I go on to the next person.
Wait.
What?
Matt and I have both ordered books and waited multiple years for them to be
This
delivered.
guy mentions
Yes,
that
I've
press.
got I think. Okay, but Dark Regions Press went under.
That's what
they
he
were
said.
A bad offender. But right now, the one I've been waiting on the longest is the Vampire Stories of Robert Bloch from Hafner Press, which I pre-ordered. It had to be 5 years ago.
God, how can people do that?
I pre-ordered Absolute Adam Hughes, the cover run. That was, I think, 6 years ago. And every year, Amazon sends me, it's coming out, and then it just doesn't. So,
well,
Go
ahead, Pete.
I was just so my friend Sal works at a comic book store, and Diamond Distributors just went under.
yeah, I heard about that.
Oh no!
So they dominated and pretty much had a
monopoly, right?
Monopoly on distribution throughout the country for all comics.
And
DC did leave them a few years ago.
Yeah,
that's.
But it's a real problem now. So like when we used to get the comic previews, a big fat volume of everything that was coming out next month.
Right.
That doesn't exist anymore. And both Marvel and DC are putting out their own version of that, but the smaller publishers can't do that.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah.
Everybody's up in the air about what's coming out.
Well, if you're new to watching or listening or both to this podcast, I just want to say this real fast. It occurs to me that I'm going to get some new listeners, people who are not new listeners in addition to the regulars, which I appreciate, But we're going to talk about Donnie Darko in a little while, and we'll warn you before we get into spoilers. But if you're here later on or right now because you don't know who the hell we are, you want to hear about Donnie Darko, hey, we're just a friendly little horror podcast, bunch of friends. We like to talk about horror and sci-fi and all that good stuff, and comic books, as Pete just did. And sometimes we have a guest. Sometimes we don't. So, on purpose. So, Alan, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, Alan Hughes. I talk about games and movies on the e-zine page, and currently either suffering from poison ivy or a meteorite hit my backyard, and like the Gardner family.
Oh, man.
It's rough.
Pete.
What do you want? I'm Pete Rollick. I'm in a super amount of pain right now.
I bet.
Uh,
I bet.
but I'm here. Um, I write, I collect, I edit. I run the Arkham Book Exchange on Facebook, and yeah, all that stuff.
DeBronzo.
I'm Mike DeBronzo. The day job is architecture. I love art and love to create it. And that's good enough for now.
Chaz just said, Pete, that you're his Florida role model. So hello to everyone watching live, watching later. Pete, for sure, it's okay to talk about this. Or you want to wait a few more weeks?
No, I can talk about it because things are going to start happening tomorrow.
All
Things
right,
have to
good.
start happening tomorrow.
Well, as everyone knows, our fellow panelist and friend Rick Lay died last April, and we miss him a lot. One of the nicest guys I've ever met, and he was a hoarder when it came to books, which that's said without judgment because who doesn't love a lot of books? But
My
yeah, yeah, yeah,
your wife, my wife.
that's
Um,
true.
I'm sure Matt. I think Matt's wife is also in that club. In
She's
fact,
so happy whenever I get a new box.
I'm sure.
I think that we should just get our wives together and have them talk things out. But I also think that would be extremely dangerous.
That no, it's because they'd all agree that it was a bad idea for us to get any more books and we should reduce our collections by half.
Yes.
And then what are you going to say?
And that we're all a bad influence on each other.
Yes.
Probably.
It's
So
better I deal with the issues I know than incur new ones.
choose your battles. Choose your battles. So Pete and Sal, I had talked to Rick's wife a few weeks ago, and we didn't know if this was going to happen. And she's like, "When is Pete going to come and take care of all the books?" I was like, "Oh, last we heard, we didn't know." So anyway, you can
All right.
take it away.
Wait, so
So
Pete, can
what
you
had
tell us who
happened?
Sal? Wait, tell us who Sal is, because the
Yes,
viewers
sir.
may not know him.
Sal, if you've been following my publishing career or as my writing career lately, Sal is my writing partner, and like he's my best friend, um, uh, in Florida. He lives just a couple blocks from me, so yeah. He's a school teacher. He teaches journalism. He started off as my line editor, and now he's my writing partner. But we do a lot of stuff together. We fish, we go hunting for books. Um, we're simpatico, we think alike. So yeah, we start doing a lot of stuff together. And yes, yes, my wife and my friends make say that like Sal and I have mandates. Um, whenever we go anyway. So yeah, we flew up on Wednesday night on Frontier. Um, $40 flight
Nice.
because they're returning the plane to New York. So no frills. Um, if you want a cheap flight, Frontier is great. If you want comfort, no.
Yeah.
Um,
So you made a dent in the books. You're going
yeah,
back up.
well,
Yeah.
um, so when went up there when Rick was still around and talked to him and I took pictures of all the books I could get to in all the rooms. I didn't get to see the stuff in the garage. It was already packed away in bins. In some of the rooms I could only like step a foot in and take pictures because there was just so much stuff.
Yeah.
But from this, I put together a list of what I thought was there and sent it to the family. And then like a couple of weeks ago, Mike was talking with Bogmelia and like was his Rick's wife, and it was like, "When's Pete coming up?" And I'm
Right.
like,
We didn't know he was,
I
but
had
we can certainly get the ball rolling.
yeah, I had been talking with both Bugmelia and Allison, and
His daughter.
I
Yeah.
guess yeah, and I guess what happened is that like Allison got married and then she got pregnant and and then Thomas, her son, had a kid, and it's just they say that the most stressful things you can do in a family is move, have a family member die, and go to a wedding.
Yeah, I
And
don't go to weddings anymore.
all of these things happened, in the family within like 3 months, and there was a lot of we just didn't have conversations, and the next thing you know, I'm supposed to be up there, so we made it happen.
What do you think is a very general estimate of all the books in his house and the books in his garage?
All right,
Not now, but before you got there.
so when I took the pictures, I estimated there were about 5,000 books.
Mm-hmm. So,
Worth Do we want to talk about numbers?
oh,
I don't want to.
you mean money?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't. Well, no, not yet, because
yeah. No, it's like all right, so
there's a lot
about
of books there. That's
there
an
were about a
understatement.
5,000 books. And when Bogmelia said, "Come on up," Sal and I went through the pictures I had taken and the estimates we'd done together on what was there and what was important, and we came up with a strike list of about 500 to 600 books that we needed to go get, um, that we thought were important and
Yeah.
that we could distribute throughout the community. Um, so then I got there and we started looking for these books and packing them up. And both Sal and I made the same discovery because we're working in the different rooms. So Rick had an office, a bedroom upstairs that he worked as an office. Then he had an office downstairs, and then he had a basement. And all three of those spaces are full of books. And then there was the garage,
Right.
which is also full of bins full of books. So what we discovered as we were working on basically cherry picking books is that Rick had double stacked all the shelves.
Oh,
So the estimate of 5 to 6,000 books that we thought we were looking at has doubled instantly.
I would just comment that Pete is actually somewhat modest, but there are very few people around who could go and evaluate that collection to help the family have disposition of it to the benefit that they want. Like we've talked how John Peelin had a big collection that the guy from Centipede Press helped his widow liquidate. And
Right.
S.P. Joshi had liquidated a much smaller library for um,
Willem.
Willem Pugmire, smaller because he had not had a fixed abode for many years.
Right.
This is a more extreme situation, and unless there's friends of Rick that we don't know in the pulp community who could have looked at it and known what they were looking at, it's very nice of you to do this for the family because there's no one else who could.
So
that's
I
true.
guess there are a couple people, and I'm not going to name names, uh, who are more local than I, who went to visit Rick and had looked at the collection and were completely overwhelmed.
I'm
And
sure.
I'm not going to lie. There are times, like there was a time this morning when I sat down and started going through the stacks, trying to organize stuff, and that I just sat back and just one teared up a little bit because one, this is Rick's life, but two,
It's what he really loved. It was
Yeah.
his
yeah,
passion.
Yeah.
it's kind of overwhelming. It's an overwhelming task. We moved 50 boxes of books into a storage unit this morning, and I don't think that we took a third. We maybe if we're lucky, we took a third of the book of the collection.
I can't, if you're new to the podcast, I can't over oversell how what a good friend Rick was to all of us. And I talked about I talked about this with Pete before he went, but the guiding principle is if Rick could shout at us from the beyond and tell us what to do with the books, we each book going here, this book going there, this book, it doesn't matter. That's what we're trying to do. What would Rick wanted us to do? What would Rick wanted
Right.
Pete to
And
do?
at the same time, we're trying to get to liquidate some of the stuff and get cash to the family. Um,
Good.
this is not a priority. Nobody is going to go homeless anytime soon, but also it's a significant collection, and we're going to make sure that the family gets some cash out of it.
Otherwise, Johnny Depp will come in and lowball it or
Uh,
highball it,
Right.
and
yes.
you know, so
I also discovered something about Rick's and Rick's family that I did not know about, and he never talked about. I found a scrapbook and I found an actual book about a guy named Buck Lie, who was apparently Rick's grandfather.
He told us that story
wow,
on a
Did he?
Patreon hangout once. Yes.
Okay. Well, Buck Lie was a a college and minor league baseball player who traveled the country as one of the first Asian American baseball players. Um, and reading the article about him, he actually, played for the Philadelphia Phillies. Well, he was scouted for the Phillies, but he was sent to a minor league team. But and this is the funny part is I think because I have to do the research on my side, but I think he may have played for the minor league team that my grandfather coached,
wow.
which would be insane.
That'd be great if you could find that out.
Um, so yeah, um,
Well,
yes, I'm sorry. It's just
no,
it it's very there's a lot of parallels between Rick and I, in terms of we have careers, and Matt, you're the same way. We have careers, and we have very technically oriented careers, right? But those technically oriented careers allowed us to, one, create fabulous collections, and two, indulge ourselves in doing research and writing projects. And Rick was probably the best of us.
yeah,
He did he published professionally chronologies of The Shadow and Doc Savage and Robert E. Howard articles. Um, and he just accomplished an amazing amount of stuff. And
and always downplayed it. Very humble
he
man.
was, yes, but
And I just
it's an
think everyone else needs to know that this is being done out of a sense of love for Rick
Right.
to make sure that his collection goes to people who will appreciate it and also to the benefit of his family. I have like books from Willem's collection and a book from Joe Pulver's collection, and those are very meaningful to me. Even if they're not, you wouldn't consider them to be valuable books.
Right.
I'll tell you what the most difficult part was. One of the most difficult part was, pulling stuff off the shelf and finding my own books on the shelves. Um, that was just heart-wrenching to me that Rick was interested enough in what I was writing to actually buy the books. Um, yeah, just incredible. Just an incredible collection. Um, my wife and kids are downstairs processing. Oh, okay. So Sal and I, let me get back on track. Sal and I went through the house and we filled Not the 25 boxes that I thought we would get. Oh, Bridget, hello.
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 Not the 25 boxes that we thought we would bring home, but 50 boxes.
Wow.
Because everything was double stacked. And then we put all those in the van, and we were then directed to the garage. And the garage is a full-size one-car garage, and it is occupied entirely by boxes.
Hmm.
And the boxes have been in the garage for years.
Well, I think
Um,
Matt summed it up beautifully about how we're wanting to do this. So there it is. And, I know Pete, and we'll keep everybody posted along the way. And
yeah.
that's that.
So
That's that. So
yeah.
yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out what people are interested in, and I've got stuff set aside for Mike and DeBronzo and Matt. There's some Sherlock Holmes stuff that's coming. It's not here yet. Um, I literally can't bring more than 3 or 4 boxes into the house at a time because my wife is going to kill me. If I like destroy her house.
Well, it was her
Uh,
birthday last week. I sent her a happy birthday text, and you can just say, Mandy, this is in celebration of your birthday. See how that goes over.
yeah. No.
Not as well as you think.
Not as well,
But
yeah.
so I've got stuff set aside for and finding stuff for the members of the easing, but then the rest of it is going up first on the Arkham Book Exchange, and then to eBay.
Arkham Book Exchange is a Facebook group that Pete runs. So if you're on Facebook, all you got to do is type that into the search and ask to join, and so it's that easy. Then not only the stuff with Rick, but there are always various buying and selling going on there.
There's lots of other people posting on that.
Yeah.
I will say this to you, to everybody. If you don't have, I try to keep spammers out of the Arkham Book Exchange. If you don't have an open Facebook page that I can look at and make sure that you actually want to be here for a reason, I'm not going to let you in.
Right.
If you have no hint of anything on your Facebook page about books or Lovecraft or collecting, I'm not letting you in. We've been spammed by a lot of people. I must go through 10 requests a day that are just people trying to sell like clothing or knee braces, things like that.
Are those profiles pretty much new Facebook members?
Yeah.
Because there's an automatic, I can help you with this if you don't know how, but there's an automatic filter that you can set up. And if someone's been a Facebook member for less than a year, for example, it automatically tells them no, so you don't even have to look at it.
I've seen that. I gotta figure out how to turn it on.
I can show you.
Okay.
So, no big deal.
But yeah, but it's also but it's not just that. There's like some people just want to come. I had one guy come in and he literally said, I want to sell my art, but I'll post a book to as a carrier. So he's like, I'll sell this book for $5, but here's my art.
Yeah.
And like he didn't get that this is not the place for that.
Yeah. All right. So
yeah.
Moving on. Oh, Bridget just joined us. You want to introduce yourself, Bridget?
Yeah, been here for a minute. Hello, I'm Bridget, composer, artist, final girl extraordinaire.
Hi, I'm glad you made it. Is it just me, or is Bridget's volume a little loud today?
Bridget's volume is a little high, but that's okay because she's soft spoken.
Is it my voice or is it you guys in the background?
No, just volume, period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
that's weird because the mic that it's taking is like 3 feet away from me. So let me see what I can do.
Anyway, on the Friday night hangout, which is a nice perk for my patrons that are at the $10 level and up. The most current well, we always talk about a lot of different things. You can hang out with the panelists and so forth. It's not recorded. It's not broadcast. But Chaz mentioned a movie that I'm interested in seeing. I'm glad he said something called The Woman in the Yard. Have you guys heard about this movie?
Oh yeah, I've seen the preview for that. It's really just a snippet, but yes.
Yeah.
It looks great to me. It's out in the theaters right now. The synopsis is, excuse me, mouth is dry. Ramona becomes crippled by grief after her husband dies in a car accident, leaving her to care for her 2 children alone in her rural farmhouse. Her sadness soon turns to fear when a spectral woman in black appears on her front lawn, warning her that, quote, today's the day. As the mysterious figure creeps closer and closer to the house, Ramona realizes she must protect her children from the evil woman who simply won't leave them alone. So, I don't know. I saw a bit of the trailer. I stopped watching it as soon as I thought, this looks great. But it just seems like weird fiction, which we're all into. So. Also, the Bob Dylan movie is on Hulu. No way? Nobody's into Bob Dylan?
Not enough that I want to watch a movie about him.
I
like
Bob
his
Dylan's
writing.
music.
Huh? What?
I like Dylan's music. I don't know that I want to watch a biopic.
Right.
Yeah.
Musician biopics are one of my. They're a struggle.
Well, I've liked some of them, like Get On Up about James Brown was really good. I like the one about Tina Turner. I thought that was really good.
That's a classic.
But the one about Freddie Mercury was fair.
Oh man, I thought it was great.
Well, the point to this is, it's there for anybody who wants to watch it, and you may not know this, but I was named after Mr. Zimmerman, so my middle name's Dylan. My dad was really into him. So,
My parents were into Star Trek, and I got named Spock. You see how that went, right?
Your middle name is Spock?
You don't know this story?
No.
All right. So I was born in 1967, which is like the year after the first season of Star Trek.
Wow.
My mother is studying to be a child psychologist. My dad is a Star Trek fan. Apparently, and this is what my grandparents tell me, my parents named me Spock Rawlick. And,
well, yeah.
I was born at Minot Air Force Base, Minot, North Dakota, where the men are men and the sheep are nervous.
Well, you know Danielle's maiden name, right? Weedlespock? Which
Oh, yeah.
I had to learn to spell very quickly when we were dating. But, like 4 brothers and 1 sister, and she's the youngest. But everyone in her town would call various members of the family, the kids, Spock. Because, Weedle Spock. So when I met Danielle, the license plate on her car was Spock 71, if I remember correctly. But there was a Spock in there.
So what happens is my grandparents fly into Minot to see their grandchild. And there's this like, this is Spock. And they're like, no. And they go, and this is 67, right? So the technology is kind of not there yet. So they go to the registry on the Air Force Base, and they ask to see the birth certificate, and the clerk gives it to them, and they tear it up.
Well, at least you weren't named Odd Thomas.
And they fill out a new one, and with my father's name, so that I'm, like named after my father. But yeah, apparently I was originally named Spock Rawlick, which is just, could you imagine?
Rolls off the tongue.
It
Yeah, it
does.
rolls off the tongue, right?
That should
But
that should be your pen name from now on. Spock Rod.
so my dad was, a big fan of the Star Trek series. My mom was a fan of Benjamin Spock, the child psychologist. She was a devotee of his, and it just made sense to them. And
Wait, Pete, can you lift your eyebrows individually to do like a Spock eyebrow thing?
no, I
I
cannot.
can do it. There you go. See.
I can't.
Also, I'm in a
And I knew that that's what everyone signed up to see today.
Yeah.
Is all of this. Uh,
I mean, if they're shocked that we talk about Star Trek, then we
oh
should
yeah,
be worried.
yeah. No, I meant our names. Thank you to my Patreon, Donna, for sending me some wood chimes, some more wood chimes, because we had a really incredible storm here and it messed up the other ones. And I did not expect more wind chimes, but I love them even more than the other ones, Donna, so thank you. Had quite a few Patreons buying me stuff lately. It feels nice. I must have fooled them into thinking I'm a good guy or something.
So just so you know, if anyone was even following it, I finally finished my Lovecraft reread on the Facebook main page for the e-zine.
Yeah.
Yay.
I started this back in September of 22. It just dragged on longer than I thought because for
It's
me,
your legacy.
24 is like a lost year because for work I was out of town so much. I just didn't have access to my library and I just sort of let it lapse. But I was gonna punt and then just decided I've got to finish this. It's there. You can look it up under Lovecraft reread if you search the group. But one thing you might want to understand is this isn't the only reread that we were doing. We have just started another one that the patrons have access to,
A
where the
podcast for just the
panelists
patrons.
are discussing individual stories. We won't be as
Yeah.
comprehensive, I'm sure, because there's a lot of dross in there. But we went through the tomb and we're coming up on the Call of Cthulhu and Dagon. So if you're interested in these reread kind of discussions, you can either, if you become a patron, you can do that. But we also have this other one that's up on the web page, and you can contribute to the discussion still. I mean, you can access each of the.
There are all kinds of Patreon only podcasts, and just for anyone new, all of that comes with the lowest level, $5 a month. I mean, you really do get a lot. So as Matt said, we've got the tomb. Tomorrow night we're going to record the Call of Cthulhu. I mean, our discussion of it. I mean, and I'm going to try.
So we can't really hear the call, so just.
Yeah, he never answers the phone, and I'll try to have that on the Patreon late Monday night. Do my very best. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and
What about the Call Girl of Cthulhu?
I never saw that yet. I heard
I've never seen it either, for good reason. That's the only movie that I'm in, and it's terrible.
You can
I'm not.
live the magic.
Mike, you make a terrible call girl. I'm just gonna say it out loud.
I'm almost positive it's on Tubi.
There's no need to be hurtful, Matt.
Okay. The other calls for there's a web show on YouTube that ran for about 12 episodes called Calls for Cthulhu, where they have in the depths of the sea in the ancient city of Hylia, Cthulhu answers your calls.
Oh God.
It's pretty funny. It's a very witty show. If you only watch one episode, my recommendation is number 6. But it's another Calls for Cthulhu.
If I'm not sure if they're still there, but Call of Cthulhu and Whisper in Darkness by the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society may still be on Tubi for those who are interested.
Oh yeah, those are great films.
There you go, being serious.
Yeah, Call of Cthulhu is awesome.
Yeah, so I'm rereading the Call of Cthulhu in Leslie Klinger's annotated edition, and wow, it is so fun to read his notes. And he thinks very, very highly of the Call of Cthulhu story in comparison to some of his other stories. And Yeah.
You have access to several different versions of annotations. You could get the what was the publisher? Penguin Books from Joshi, right? But there's also Kenneth Haidt from 2007 to 2009 had done a blog where he discussed all of the stories basically, and it's been published in a book called Tour to Lovecraft, which is actually quite a fun read.
Yeah, it is.
So if you're looking for, but if you want the bottom line, the actual, because isn't there a podcast? Uh, what's that Cthulhu podcast? The
I don't know.
H.P. Lovecraft literary podcast, something like that.
HP Podcraft.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
did a reread. They've done a reread also. You can find one on Tor.com that was running about 8 years ago by Ann Pillsworth and I forget the other woman's name.
Well, those are all great. I highly recommend Les's annotated editions. So, yeah. There's that. Let's see.
The main issue with his book is it's beautiful. I don't know if there's a cheaper Kindle version, but the print copy is kind of pricey. And you've got access to a couple free things online.
Yeah. Alan, you've got a gift for somebody out there who wants it, right?
Sure. So if anyone's on the free tier on the Patreon, if somebody just to get some more subscriptions, if somebody wants to sign up for get a 6 months at the $5 tier, just reply to me on Patreon, and you'll have it.
Yeah. I don't think I don't think Patreon allows free members to comment on the posts.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know.
What is the gift?
Yeah, good point. It's 6 months of at the $5 level of the Lovecraft Easing Patreon. So, which is very nice of you to do, Alan.
Sure. So
I lost a I lost a Patreon today, and first of all, I thanked him so much because he's been supporting me for quite a while. And times are tough for some people, for some of us. And this guy was like, I'll be back when I can, but this is what's going on, and I totally get it. I really do. But I posted something about it on the Patreon that I was feeling a little, that I'm trying to. How do I want to phrase this? I've been really depressed the last couple days anyway, and you know, this just kind of hit me, and I thought, yeah. So I posted something on the Patreon, and now I've got like 8 or 9 new Patreons, either new Patreons or people who upgraded. So I just want to thank all of you. And to the gentleman who had to drop your Patreon pledge, thanks for really, I mean it. Thanks for all the support you've given me, and I hope things ease up for you a bit. So yeah. How do you want them to? Do you want them to email you, Facebook? What, Alan?
if anybody wants to do it on the chat right now, give me your email and I can do it there. Or if
Or they could comment below on this. Yeah, that's the easiest thing to do instead of them emailing you.
Yeah, comment below.
Yeah, if you're watching live, comment on the side, and if you're watching later, comment below.
And if nobody's, first person that I can see gets it.
All right. Anyway, thanks to everyone. I don't want to make this into a Patreon commercial, but I really do appreciate everybody and for stepping up. And I've had people had to leave and they come back before it happens. I wish times were better for some of us. Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Logan and I will be playing part 2 of No One Lives Under the Lighthouse. We'll be streaming that live, and of course, you can, just like these, you can watch it later too if you want. So, And Alan and I are going to do something soon too. In other words, we're going to start playing. We've started playing Lovecraftian and/or horror games on the YouTube channel, and that's what's going on. I guess.
Mike, I was going to email you, but I think a good game that we could do would be the Thing, the recent Thing remake. It's from 2002, and John Carpenter worked on it. And in some ways, it's kind of a sequel. Well, it is. It is a sequel to the film.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
If somebody wants to just watch the story of the game, and
I played it when it originally came out, and except for a glitch at the end, like you get to the final thing and you couldn't finish.
yes.
At least I couldn't. It's good, and he considers it his direct sequel, like you said. So it's fun. I'm actually curious to see what the new, the remaster looks like.
Great.
It's cleaned up. It still looks like a 2002 game, but it's been cleaned up, given the high definition treatment. And
Nice.
I think it's about a 4 to 5 hour game. So,
Yeah. You actually, it takes place, I think, like right after the movie.
yes.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure most of everyone who's watching the No One Lives Under the Lighthouse one with Logan and me is there to hear him rag on his dad, roast his dad during the game. So that's the real draw.
Yeah. DeBronzo, how does the game interface with the Dark Horse sequels? Does it does it?
I've read about the Dark Horse sequels, but I have not read the Dark Horse sequels.
What?
I don't have them.
Well, I will send you
shame
some.
on your family. You and your family. You must bear this shame forever.
I think I have sets.
You're gonna twist my arm like this too.
Yeah.
All right. Sure.
Interestingly, do you know John Betancourt, publisher at Wildside Press, always squeaking by and looking for an opportunity. He did the Kickstarter. I think they were the ones who published A Frozen Hell, which was the
original
version of Who Goes There, which became the original Thing from Another World. He has actually, it looks to me like what he's going to do is start writing sequels to the thing, to A Frozen Hell, and publish them through Kickstarters.
So, Matt, I consider Who Goes There a sequel to At the Mountains of Madness.
I don't know, because, okay, this is just me. I'm going to get the names wrong. Sorry. Who wrote Who Goes There?
John W. Campbell.
Okay. I think he started publishing, was it Astounding Stories, Amazing Stories? Was that where he ended up?
Yeah, I think
he got that job in like 1938, I think. And I think At the Mountains of Madness wouldn't necessarily have crossed his radar before he wrote his first draft of the Thing from Another, of Who Goes There.
Okay.
I've looked at the timeline, and it doesn't add up to me that, like, this doesn't seem to me like it's directly, you could make an argument, but I don't think the timeline adds up for this to be directly inspired by.
Okay.
I could be wrong, willing to be disproved, but that's the way I read it.
He ties both of those together in one of his stories.
Yeah, I tie the two together in The Weird Company.
Yeah, which is, that book's a lot of fun.
Well, on the live chat, Eli says that Sutter Kane, In the Mouth of Madness is getting a novelization.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
due out
that's pretty
October
cool.
31st.
Yep.
Sorry?
It's due out October 31st.
Oh, okay.
I have such mixed feelings.
Yeah, thanks, Eli.
I really hope it's well written.
Yep.
That same publisher's also releasing a Session 9.
Yep.
Right.
Oh my God,
Same
really?
thing. It's like those mixed feelings.
Wow.
And it's assumed that the person who wrote the novelization of Session 9 is the person that's writing the novelization of In the Mouth of Madness.
But as Sutter Kane.
Yeah, but as Sutter Kane.
Have you read Sutter Kane? Yeah, thanks, Eli. I was not aware, I don't think. So, yes. So we're going to talk about Donnie Darko in a few minutes. Not quite yet. What else do we want to talk about here? Oh, this is a big one. You
Godzilla?
guys, Matt, I don't know if you ever had a chance to read it or any of you. This,
Oh, has Displaced Person been reprinted?
well, that's where I'm getting to. Um,
Googly moogly.
and I'll give a synopsis. I'll tell people about the book in just a second. But Pete, Lee Harding's daughter, emailed me a week and a half ago, and she wanted my thoughts on the book. And there's a possible possible movie coming at some point. But the Kindle version, they do have authorization to do a Kindle version, which will be out next week sometime or so. And next Sunday, Maddie Harding is our guest to talk about all of this. So these are hard to find, and if you find them, they're expensive.
Or is it on Amazon or?
Not quite yet, but
Okay.
I mean the reprints, the the resale editions are original editions. But yeah, she's also trying to get a reprint in print as well, Pete. So
Okay.
my point is, this is an incredible book that I read when I was maybe 10 or 11. It was published in 1978. Checked it out. I must have checked it out of the library somewhere around 1981 or 82. And I saw this cover, and I just assumed it was another, teen novel about normal teen things. And I started reading it, and I was like, "Oh my God!" The short version is, this was the first time I believe I've ever read cosmic horror, although I wouldn't have known to phrase it as call it cosmic horror at the time. And it's an incredible book. It holds up. I've read it several times again as an adult. The protagonist is 17 years old, and this well-rounded kid, and suddenly people gradually stop noticing that he exists. So when you get to the very end of the novel, which I won't spoil for anybody, you he you're very aware that it's cosmic horror. So
Yeah. So how did you get 2 copies?
I bought them. Well, what happened was I bought them before I started talking about it on the show a few
Yeah.
years ago, and then I told everybody about it, and the price went up because copies kept getting bought.
Okay.
So it's my fault. I believe the Kindle edition is going to have this cover
All right.
again. Do you have a copy?
I don't. But once it comes out, if she gets a deal to reprint it, I will be first in line.
Good.
I think I had a copy and I think I gave it away. But I don't know because I have no idea what's in my house.
So if you've never heard me talk about this book, if you've never read this book, if you can get your hands on a copy, you should. It's a great read, and if you're a Kindle person, wait a week or two, and you can read it on Kindle. That's all I'll say about it today. But his daughter is going to be our guest next Sunday. We can really get into this and why it's such an important book. So anyway, I also wanted to give a shout out to Jackanapes Press. If you haven't checked out their catalog, everybody, you should check it out. And he's got another what's it called? Tales from Carcosa coming up. I can't remember, something like that.
So, back in the day, and when I say the day, I'm thinking 70s, there was a Canadian writer by the name of Galad Elflinson who wrote a collection of Carcosa stories and was shopping around trying to get it published. And some of these were released in various magazines and whatnot. And he's famous for writing a book called The Black Wolf, which adapts some, expands on some of the stories. But a whole section of those stories are literally King in Yellow stories. And I got a copy of the manuscript from Joe and read them, and I was just absolutely amazed. And last month, I was approached by Jackanapes Press to write a blurb for the new release of Gallant Elfinson's Carcosa stories.
The
So
Exile.
these
the
originally
Exile.
got published. Okay, so you've heard of the Esoteric Order of Dagon, which is essentially a nod to Lovecraft's amateur press
Yeah,
thing. So it's like you can get invited there, but you're expected to contribute.
right.
Like they do a mailing a few times a year, and they send copies to all the members of what your contributions are. You don't have to, I think, contribute something every time, but you have to do something. Well, there's a guy, he was running Saega Press in the UK, and he published these little fanzines, which are actually quite good.
Yeah,
His contribution was he published a book version of these stories, but there were only 50 copies.
right.
And so I've got one of those. So what I'm thinking is this book will probably have all of that and hopefully something more.
Yeah,
The
and it will
tit-
actually.
I just
Go
want to get
ahead.
the title out for people. The Exile and Other Tales of Carcosa, and I've linked to it in the side chat.
Yeah,
So you would never get a copy of that issue from Saega Press now.
yeah. So, um, I've recently reread all the stories. They are incredibly true, I think, to the Chamber's ideas.
Good.
At the same time, a couple of the stories push the definition of the King in Yellow into new and interesting areas. There is a literally high fantasy Carcosa adventure that is just amazing.
Wow.
And I was just thrilled to reread these stories.
Is the author still alive?
Yes,
Oh, good.
yes. So, but I discovered that Galad Elflinson is not his real name.
M.R. Summerly.
Yes, which is just as good.
Yeah. Well, while you're waiting on that one, folks, check out the rest of their catalog at Jackanapes Press. Bridget, here's one for you, coming soon. Creatures of Liminal Space by Daniel Boone.
Yes.
So you can pre-order it, and I don't see where it comes out. Oh, May 2025. So it's coming up.
Oh, well, see, that's perfect because that's my birthday month. So it's definitely for me. I like liminal spaces and it's coming out my birthday month. Awesome.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go. Anyway, they do a fantastic job. I just wanted to shout out about them and about that. And I didn't know Pete knew all of that, but I can't say I'm surprised. So
I didn't know that you were going to plug it. I haven't talked about it because I didn't know that was public knowledge.
oh yeah, it's on their site.
Well, it is now.
Well, oh yeah, I could think it came. Yes. Look, I apologize. I have been.
You should, damn it.
Yes, like my mind is mush.
Oh, I bet after everything you and Sal
You've
did.
only done like what, 10 projects this year?
Yeah,
Well, I'm going up to New York and back for Rick's books.
but right now it's like on Friday afternoon we left Long Island at 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and we got into Palm Beach at like 9 o'clock last night.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, I still have like that motion you get when you're on a boat.
Mm-hmm.
I still have car motion. I still feel like I'm moving in a car. It's just, yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah, you and Sal have done an amazing job, and you have more to do. So thanks. All right, so this is it. We're going to talk for a few minutes about the film Donnie Darko. If you've never seen it, you really should. and you should not listen to us from this point onwards until you have seen it. Excuse me.
This does not violate Rolex rules
No.
because this movie is more than 10 years old. You know, if you haven't watched it yet, we're gonna put spoilers out. That's your fault.
Bridget, you haven't seen it yet? Yeah.
I started watching it a couple years ago and I stopped watching it.
Well, if you don't care about spoilers, then you can definitely stay. I will say this. I did some research earlier, and Matt, you guys watched the extended release on movie night last night, and it looks to me like the better version is the original theatrical version.
We watched the theatrical cut.
Oh, you did? Okay, then good.
Yeah. We were going to watch the extended, and then I talked to a few people, and there was apparently more ambiguity, mystery in the theatrical version, so that's what we watched.
Yeah. So anyway, it's Donnie Darko time. It's Darko time.
I had never seen it till we watched it last night.
Really? I think it's Patrick Swayze's greatest film.
It's the only one where he plays a smarmy guy.
You haven't seen
You're a monster.
Break? You haven't seen Point Break, Pete?
I have.
Well, okay, so I gotta say, I'm really glad I watched this. It was disturbing. It wasn't horrifying, but it sure did have scenes that were uncomfortably tense and where you think you're worried about what's going to happen or what's he going to do. I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like it. I'm still not convinced I understand what happened.
Have you seen The Box? The same director did that one, and it's eerie as hell as well.
No, but I'll put it on my list.
Yeah. Cameron Diaz stars in it. In case I think there's more than one movie.
James Marsden, maybe.
Yeah, James Marsden is.
Frank Langella might be in it too.
Well, that's the first thing I guess to mention about this movie is the cast was great.
Yeah.
They had
Noah
Wiley. They had Drew Barrymore, Patrick Swayze. I think that Jake Gyllenhaal's mom actually played his mom in the show.
No.
His sister was in it.
His sister was in it. As his sister.
Well, also the what's her name? Something Ann Jones or Anita Jones. She was in Parks and Rec. Quincy Jones' daughter. She played Gyllenhaal's sister, Donnie Darko's sister, his older sister. So they had a very, very solid cast. It was released in 2001. I thought the 1980s music that they used was just really spot on. Very much. The original music was good too, but it was like this all sort of helped with your mood setting. I just thought it was a really well-made film.
So let's talk about theories as to what's really going on. Whoever wants to start. I've got some too.
Yeah. I'll go first because I haven't seen it. I've seen it multiple times, but I haven't seen it in, I don't know, like 10 years.
Yeah.
What I remember was like it was time travel, right?
That's
part of it?
One interpretation, yeah.
On October 2nd, Donnie is woken up in the middle of the night in his bedroom.
1988.
Yeah, October 2nd, 1988. Yeah, he wakes up. He doesn't wake up. He is awakened by a voice. And then he leaves his bedroom and goes wandering. And while he is away, a jet engine crashes into his house through his bedroom. And then from that point on, he begins seeing visions. Strange events begin happening to him. And, well, somebody carry it from there.
So I personally thought so I was thinking during this movie, he began to understand reality better than what we normally infer from our senses.
Right.
And he then was able to choose to travel through time himself later. And he went back to I think more than his family, even to save the girl he was in love with. But I've also had people say they thought the only person who traveled in time was the rabbit who had been maimed by Donnie Darko or killed or something, and went back in time to get Donnie Darko to correct that
Well,
murder.
and one of the more popular theories is that it's really important for Donnie to correct it because this incident creates a side reality, you might say, a bubble reality, or what they call a tangent universe. And it's going to collapse in 28 days. That's where it gets the world will end in 28 days. So, um, you know,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Donnie was somebody who shouldn't have been alive,
Right.
and the rabbit was a guy who should have been. So
Yeah. On
the
October
rabbit,
October 2nd, 1988, Donnie is lured out of his house by Frank, uh, the guy wearing the rabbit costume. This event, while he's outside, a jet engine crashes into his bedroom. The source of the engine is unknown. This event marks the creation of a tangent universe, an unstable alternate reality that will collapse within 28 days unless the artifact, the jet engine, is returned to the primary universe. That's one
See,
theory.
I had my issue with that is okay, the world was going to end for Frank in 28 days, not necessarily for everyone else.
Right.
And the issue is okay, that jet engine still had to come from somewhere. So, like, even when he went back and sacrificed himself, that jet engine still has to come from somewhere. Where's that going to come from in 28 days?
Yeah.
So the issue of the jet engine is uh, Donnie Darko's little sister is on a dance team, and they
Sparkle
get
motion.
they get accepted to appear on an Ed McMahon show, which was a big deal at the time, kind of like America's Got Talent. And on their red eye flight home, his mother and his sister, this is 28 days after the jet engine had appeared, their jet engine is going over his house and its engine falls off and hits the house. You never got a sense of whether that plane crashed or not.
No, you didn't.
You know, how if you're in descent and you lose a jet engine, I don't know if you can salvage that aircraft.
Yeah.
So if you say, okay, he's not there, but the jet engine still was, that jet engine still has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So if you go to the future, for all we know, his sister and his mother are going to die in a plane crash too.
Well, what are any of you have alternate theories or want to expand on that one, Pete?
I don't have an alternate theory. What I have to say about this is that it's purposefully ambiguous.
Yes. One of my
And
favorite kinds of stories. Yeah.
you there's no way for us to predict what is going to happen because we don't know the future, and I think that's an important part of this is that the director, the writer, everybody on this project is just basically saying, yeah, the universe is not just more complicated than we think, it's more complicated than we can think.
Mm-hmm.
And you are not going to be able to solve all the problems and save everybody. People are going to live and people are going to die, and there's no good answer to what causes all that in these accidents.
I've
And
got
this,
I've got more theories to talk about, but I just want to quickly say to Matt and anyone who has not seen The Box by this same director, if you liked Donnie Darko, I would I would believe very strongly that you will like The Box.
Okay.
So
I thought one
one
thing
of
that I liked about the arc was they are showing that Donnie Darko is deteriorating. Like,
Yeah.
is this rabbit real? Um, and although they say that he's schizophrenic, I always thought of schizophrenia as auditory, not visual hallucinations, where you hear your own thoughts as though they're an outside voice. But
And
anyway, he's getting more and more violent. He floods his school. He burned down someone's house. He's found a pistol, and it's obviously his psychiatrist is freaking out about it.
yeah,
Um,
I met some.
but then
I made
he
a new friend, real or imaginary? Imaginary.
but he basically sublimates this pain and fear and whatever's happening to him, and he decides he's going to save the girl that he loved. So he ended up doing something that was pretty noble.
So yeah, speaking of schizophrenia, that's another possible interpretation that all of this is in his mind, or all of this is happening in his mind in just the brief moments before death.
Except there is the subplot about the self-help guru who is also a child molester,
Yeah.
Mhm.
who is somehow or another being exposed because of the deviation through time, and ends up, cowering in the corner because his secret, which is only exposed because of the this possible alternate universe, um it can't just be in his mind if other people are affected.
There's also the
Sure.
problem of grandma death.
Yes.
Roberta Sparrow wrote a book called
The philosophy of time
Philosophy
travel.
Yeah.
Philosophy of Time Travel. I ran across, I can't take credit for this, but I ran across a hell of an interesting theory. But before I get to that, do you guys have any theories that you want to talk about?
Not so much theories, but a little piece of trivia. You know they made a sequel to this, right?
Yeah,
Donnie
talk
I
about
Darko.
the
deliberately did not watch it.
Donnie
Neither
Darko.
have I.
wrote?
S. Darko. And it's not. Richard Kelly has a writing credit on it. That's it.
Yeah, we don't talk about the sequel. Like there's
No,
there's
there
no
is
sequels to
no
Highlander.
sequel.
Somebody had to mention it. Come on.
There's no sequel to Highlander. There's no sequel to Donnie Darko.
It's like the cartoon Foul Language, and
Yeah.
the father's sitting with his son on the couch, and they just finished the Return of the Jedi. Wow, that was really great. Are there any other Star Wars movies? And the guy says, "No."
Well,
I will shoot down the theory, Mike. I do have a theory, or at
yes,
least
please go
shoot
ahead.
down,
let's
or
hear it.
preemptively shoot down one theory. That this is kind of a Final Destination plot line, that he should not have survived, so the universe is out to get him. This is not. That's in fact, because he was woken up by Frank before the jet, he should the tangent universe was created before he survived.
That reminds me of a short story, I think, by Fritz Lieber. I don't remember the title of it, but there's this guy was trying to save someone's life, or maybe he was trying to save his own life in a supernatural kind of way, where he got shot, and he kept coming up with scenarios where he got out of the one murder and then he got killed in a different way, to the point where he went out onto a porch to get away, and a meteor hit him in the forehead.
Yeah, I read that
Like-
story.
Like the universe says,
It's
you're
original
getting
form.
out of here no matter what you try.
There's to Alan's point, one of the theories is that it's kind of an inverted It's a Wonderful Life. This theory compares the film to It's a Wonderful Life, suggesting Frank shows Donnie how bad life would be if he continues living, leading him to sacrifice himself for the greater good. Which I don't know how much there's to say about that, but it's an interesting thought.
So if we run with that idea,
Yeah.
who's the star of It's a Wonderful Life?
Jimmy Stewart.
Frank's the angel figure, by the way, in this theory.
Right. But Jimmy Stewart is also in what Rabbit movie?
Harvey.
We
Harvey.
mentioned that last night.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not unreasonable to connect Jimmy Stewart and It's a Wonderful Life to Donnie Darko.
Well, I'm gonna give you another connection. that you might like even better. It's a prequel to The Matrix. And let me read the theories as to why, because at first it sounds ridiculous. The theory posits that Donnie is an earlier version of the One before Neo. Both characters have powers such as manipulating reality and time. Donnie's title as the living receiver in Donnie Darko could be seen as a precursor to Neo's role as the One. Now, here's parallels is what got me really thinking about this. Frank and the Rabbit. Who does Neo follow at the beginning of the movie? Who is he told to follow? Follow the White Rabbit.
Yeah.
Both Donnie and Neo follow the rabbit to begin their journeys. Donnie follows Frank, a man in a rabbit suit, while Neo follows the White Rabbit tattoo. Grandma Death is likened to the Oracle in the Matrix. Cryptic wisdom and all that. And yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Okay, well, but that's okay. Let's just say, regarding the quote concept of something like the Matrix, the earliest that I know of is William Gibson's Neuromancer from 1984.
Yeah.
Which came out like 16, 17 years before the movie. So I guess it's plausible the director had read that.
Sure. This theory also talks about the tangent universe as a prototype matrix. Could be viewed, the tangent universe in Donnie Darko could be viewed as an early version of the Matrix simulation created by machines to test human responses to alternate realities. The 1988 setting of Donnie Darko aligns with the Matrix lore, where the virtual world is designed to resemble 20th century Earth. As you guys know, I'm kind of an astronomy buff, and sometimes I watch Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast, and he had who's the guy on the Matrix who finds Neo and it's
Morpheus.
Yeah. Well, he had that actor I'm blanking on for some reason.
Larry Fishburne.
Yeah, on the show, and he said actually that The Matrix is one of his favorite films. The only problem he has with it is that using humans as batteries just does not work. There's far easier way to get energy than using humans as batteries. So he goes, but I give it a pass because I like the movie so much.
That theory, Mike, could also explain one of the visual flaws in the movie is that it's supposed to be set in the fictional Middlesex, Virginia, but it is clearly Southern California where this movie is shot. So the simulation messed it up.
Every place looks like Southern California.
Yeah.
Korea did in MASH.
All those places that the brothers travel to in Supernatural. Everywhere they go, it looks like Vancouver. So, Vancouver and surrounding areas. Let's see, what else do I have? And guys, feel free to jump in if you have anything else. But
it's just interesting to hear what people thought this was, because I was like,
but
I mean,
I love a story where that is ambiguous. So there's no real right answer. It's kind of like the end of The Thing. Who's the thing and not? It's so much better of a story if you don't know.
Yeah.
Pete.
One of the things I really love about the movie is the visual effects of the time trails.
Yeah.
And which at the time I thought was really, really cool to see. Sort of cutting edge, if I remember correctly. Now it might look a little dated, but at the time it was gorgeous. And then Grandma Death, the whole concept that a person who, and this is where it gets a little Lovecraftian, somebody who just went down a rabbit hole of study so much and wrote apparently a cutting edge book on the concept, but then went insane. To the point where
clear to me that's what
point.
happened to her, though.
Good
it's more like she just aged into her costume.
But possibly not. It could be what Pete's saying.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
but it's like everybody. It's not that she's just aged. It's like everybody in the town knows that she's a little crazy, and maybe it is because she's aged. But even Donnie's parents have always known her as the crazy person.
Yeah.
So anyway,
There's
yeah,
a
it's
line that I've never understood in Donnie Darko. It's when Donnie is talking to the teacher, Noah Wiley, played by Noah Wiley, and they're just talking about, time travel and philosophy or whatnot. And Noah Wiley says, I'm gonna have to discontinue this conversation. And Donnie's like, why? He's like, I could lose my job. And I've always thought, why? What is that line supposed to mean? A teacher's not
Well,
going to lose their job for discussing.
well, it got into the Donnie Darko was going to talk about how this was like following God's predestination,
Mhm.
and that might conflict with the religious policies of the school, is the way I interpreted it.
Oh, it's a private school.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So
Which leads into the biblical allegory. Donnie is seen as a Christ-like figure who
Christ.
sacrifices himself to save others. Frank, symbolizing God, guides him toward his destiny. And then there's all the, does Donnie have any free will at all? Or is everything predestined and he just has the illusion of free will? Yeah, Mike.
Well, I'm just saying, I fixated on the Smurf scene. I think that sums up the movie the best. Where
Well,
they just have this.
we'll talk about
Well,
that.
actually, we talked I thought the way Smurfs reproduced was they smuck, but
Oh
I
my
got
God.
shot down.
Jesus Christ.
It's just I rewatched that clip today.
What
I
is
sent
it?
it
I
in
can't remember it.
It's him and his two friends. They have like what is it, the BB gun? They're shooting cans.
Yeah.
Or it's a 22 or something. And his two friends are in the background talking about the Smurf village and what was it? Papa Smurf created Smurfette. So all the Smurfs could basically get laid, and they have this. He lays out this very good argument why that's bullshit. They have no dicks. They reproduce asexually. He's like, "What's the point of life without a dick?" Or it's
Yeah.
you
It
can
was
Google
funny.
the clip. It's hilarious.
Well, that was it just shows you that the writing throughout was really on point and sharp.
Yeah.
I remember, like I said, I haven't watched it in ages, but I remember rewatch. Like after I had watched it, the rewatch was really soon afterwards because it was one of those where it's like, okay, like Usual Suspects. Let me go back and see what I missed. So it's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So-
So if you've not watched this movie, it certainly fits in with your interests if you like
Oh, yeah.
cosmic horror and Lovecraftian stuff.
And
one
I
of the
love
things-
Donnie Darko, but I love the box even more. Just FYI. Pete,
I
sorry.
haven't seen
go ahead.
that.
Pete.
One of the things I love about Donnie Darko is that I probably quote one line from Donnie Darko every month. It's the same line every time.
the most beautiful word.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's cellar door, but nope.
I
Nope.
had to obey him. He saved my life. Is that the one?
Nope. Right.
I doubt your commitment to Sparkle Motion.
Exactly.
You got it. It's exactly right. Because it's so
Sometimes I question your commitment to sparkle motion.
Whenever somebody says, yeah, I just don't know if I'm going to help out on this project. And I'm like, sometimes I question your commitment to
In
sparkle
fact,
motion.
I quoted that in one of our email threads just a few days ago to Matt. So now I realize he didn't understand it at the time, but now he does.
It's just like, and if people get the quote, I'm thrilled. But a lot of people don't get the quote anymore.
Oh yeah, who understands what I'm talking about if I mention Kukla, Fran, and Ollie?
Well, yeah,
That just happens.
yeah. But I think it's one of the great lines of the film.
Yeah.
Where the mom coach of the dance team questions whether or not the other mom whose kid is on the team is fully committed to sparkle motion.
The voice, that shrill voice.
It's, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's sort of, but it also sort of symbolizes this sort of like the the nonsense that some of these people in the community are committed to and think that this is the be all and end all of everything, right? You would rather, they don't want to talk about big issues because their lives are totally committed to this dance team. And for everybody, that dance team ends when they go to college.
So
It, yeah, anyway.
Alan.
yeah, just so again, yeah, what you're saying, Pete, that Donnie can see the reality and what reality really is, but even the people who are stuck in the real world can't see their own lives in front of them.
Here's a question that I came across. Do the other characters in the film subconsciously, this is after the events, after Donnie dies, do others subconsciously remember events from the tangent universe? Gretchen's wave at Rose, near the end, suggests lingering echoes of alternate timelines.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
The Matrix.
Yeah.
I can't remember what movie it is, but there is a movie about a guy who lives through multiple timelines and he gets all that stuff, in his head. And it's driving him insane because there's too many contradictory realities.
Yeah. Yes, I know
Um,
that guy. He was Owlman in that animated movie, Justice League Crisis on Twin Earths, or whatever it was. Crisis on
okay.
Two Earths. Yeah.
But yeah, I can imagine that, like particularly Patrick Swayze's character who in one version has been exposed, and then is remembering being exposed and him being a horrible person and literally just fears that coming out again.
Yeah. So
The director had a website, and I think it's still up. That again, whether it's this in the movie or not. I mean, it's not in the movie, but it is somewhat official. But it had what happened to some of the characters afterwards.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
and it
didn't know
said that
that.
the Patrick Swayze character was found after that event. After I guess the tangent universe collapsed, he was found. He shot himself. He burned his house down himself, and was found shot. Had committed suicide on the golf course where Donnie Darko was found.
Wow.
Was that where'd you hear that, Alan?
That was on the director's website. It had
Did you end up watching the extended version too?
I've seen the extended version.
What's the difference?
Some of the stuff like that Mike has been talking about, it's more specific about what happened.
If you like ambiguity, that's not the one to watch.
Yeah.
About this. I think it's got some clips from more from Roberta, the grandma death, and it gets into this explanation of tangent universes.
Oh, one other quick theory. It's a time loop. Donnie is caught in a repeating cycle where the tangent universe resets every 28 days. The loop only breaks when Donnie allows himself to die in the jet engine crash, fulfilling his destiny. So yeah, it's if you haven't seen Donnie Darko, you should see it. I hope you didn't listen to all this if you haven't seen Donnie Darko. But if you haven't seen The Box, and I forget his other movie that he did. And he tends to use some of the same actors too.
The
second
Outback
one
Tales was his other movie.
Sorry.
Yeah, that had The Rock in it.
What? What's the title?
Southland Tales. It had The Rock.
Oh, yeah.
It had Stifler. Can't remember the guy's real name.
Sarah Michelle Gellar and Justin Timberlake.
Oh, okay.
It sounds like recommendations to avoid, though.
That's definitely Southland Tales. I don't remember liking that one.
No. Have you guys ever seen A Brief History of Time Travel? It's set up. It's only like I'm looking at the IMDb because it's been a while since I've seen it. It's on Tubi. it's set up like a A&E or a History Channel like special.
Oh yeah,
So
they keep changing the whole basis of the film keeps changing.
yeah, you're like it's actually really clever how they do it. And it's like short enough where it's fun. It's like as it like Pete said, as it goes to like they're talking about a time machine, right? Something like that. And then it changes the timeline and it keeps changing toward the whole thing. And I think at the end it may I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it. I liked it a lot.
Bridget's back just in time for me to say the last thing I want to say about it, which is the soundtrack is great.
Yeah.
Oh, good, just in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just wasn't in the mood to watch it that particular day. So some
I
other
love
time.
That soundtrack a lot.
So, DeBronzo, on that note, one of my favorite cartoons of all time are the guys that are protesting. It's like, what do we want? Time travel. When do we want it? That doesn't matter.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, there's that.
Speaking of time travel,
yeah,
I just got it today on Audible. Philip Fricassee's new book, The Third Rule of Time Travel, is on Audible now. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I forgot Phil has that out.
Looks cool.
Thank you to Derek, Francine, Michael Smith, Donna, Travis, Jim, and another Travis for either joining the Patreon today or upping your membership today. I'm just flabbergasted. I really appreciate it.
Nice.
So, yeah, really appreciate it. Anyway,
did you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna quickly because we had a conversation earlier about metal bikinis, but
what?
Have you guys seen?
It's so funny out of context.
We did. What?
Maybe Mike missed that one.
What the fuck?
Did you ever see the movie? Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Solomon Kane?
No.
Anybody?
Yes, I have.
Does he wear a bikini?
Unfortunately, no. Did you like it?
Sean Connery wears a bikini in Highlander.
You didn't?
He also wears a bikini
okay. I just
in
don't.
Zardoz.
It's not.
I was gonna say the Zardoz diaper is like all-time win.
Hey, we should bring that back. No, I just looked because I was on IMDb. I looked at Red Sonja.
Okay.
And the same director.
Okay. So I remember watching Solomon Kane. I don't remember it making a good impression on me. I didn't hate it. I just don't think it did. It sort of fizzled out and killed the property.
Yeah, I mean, I like James Purfoy in it.
Okay.
And I don't know. It just wasn't enough. And I wasn't familiar with the character really at that point.
Yeah.
So it was now that I am. I've read all the stories and I am now. Okay. I mean, I just came late to it. I bought the collection. Now they released all the new R.E. Howard. Not new. Right. They were the editions with the great art on the front. I forget who published them, but I went through all the Conan stories and then I did Solomon Kane.
All right.
And then now if you read the current Savage Sword of Conan, they do a Solomon Kane story each issue. Or actually it's an arc. First 3 issues are the first story. Beautiful art.
Titan's they're about to spin off their own Solomon Kane comic book.
Eye of the Serpent, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And that comes out like later this year too. September, October.
I think this month. It's on the way.
Well, the collected edition does. I'm sorry. It probably.
Yeah, I buy the monthlies.
I always do the trades.
The last weekend, I think I mentioned this, but I just for something dumb and fun to watch, I started watching the Underworld series. The first couple were good. I tried Underworld Awakening and was no. I haven't seen Rise of the Lycans, which is the 3rd movie. But anyway, I wrote on Blue Sky. I just Googled underwater movies in order, and holy shit, there are a lot of underworld movies. And Peter Klein's replied, I tried watching them all back to back one weekend and pretty much killed a bottle of rum.
All right. So it's funny that you mentioned that because one of the books one of the stacks of books I found in Rick's house was basically all of Nancy Collins's work.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
On the Sonia Blue novels and her signed slipcase edition of short stories. And if you don't know, White Wolf and Nancy Collins sued the producers of the Underworld series, and
Really?
there was an out of court settlement.
Yep.
There's a Nancy Collins, not a short story called "A Love of Monsters," that describes a Romeo and Juliet situation between a werewolf and a vampire. And several there
I bet
are
there's some freaky fur flying at times, right?
I think White Wolf was able to point out 80 points of similarities between the movie and their games, Werewolf the Apocalypse and things like that.
Yeah.
And they ended up settling out of court for an undisclosed amount. But yeah, Sal and I were talking about that. We were driving through Richmond Friday night. And yeah, just brought up the whole Underworld series and how it just went from okay to terrible.
How was Rise of the
oh,
Lycans?
The same.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a prequel, basically.
Yeah, I know. That's why I didn't try to watch it yet. Guess I won't.
This I haven't read yet, but it came out a couple of years ago. It's short stories for Sonia Blue.
What's the title?
It's Blue. I'm sorry, I can't read it. Blue Murder, a Sonia Blue collection. It's got 2 stories that were never published.
Nice.
And it was the first collected edition in 20 years. So, but I haven't dug into it yet. It's on the TBR.
Well, last thing I'll say, and then Matt Prize. I see on Bloody Disgusting, it's a good site. I frequent it. But here's an article for you. That a non-article, but it's an article. John Carpenter. The title is John Carpenter says he'd quote love to direct again given the right circumstances. Didn't we know that already? I mean, really.
I mean, that's really like any director, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd love to do that again. The right circumstances would be $5 million.
Yeah. Give me the right circumstances and I'll direct a movie.
Wasn't it a couple of years ago that's like somebody, said today it would have been John Carpenter's 80th birthday? And he responded back saying, "I'm not dead yet."
He's been really jaded about making movies. Like when he did come back after I don't know how many years, because Ghost of Mars was his last one and it got roasted. He did The Ward, which came out at the same time as Sucker Punch. And The Ward's really it's not a good movie.
Starman.
Art in the chat said Fog too.
Starman.
Hey.
Agree. Oh, Starman.
I love Starman.
I would do The Fog too and just have everybody's descendant of Tom Atkins' character. Like they all have mustaches, and if they're female, because he's repopulated
he did not
the town.
have a mustache in The Fog. I've told you that joke, right? They could afford Tom Atkins, but couldn't afford his mustache, so he shaved it off for the.
But after he grows the mustache, afterwards, and all the female children have a tramp stamp birthmark shaped like the mustache. I had this all worked out. I was going to tell this to you. I think we talked about it like a year ago.
You had too much time on your hands.
Yeah.
God, unfortunately, yes.
All right.
I was lonely as a child too.
DeBronzo, have you ever seen Body Bags?
Yes, I've seen Body Bags.
I think it's filmed like on Sanibel Island off the west coast of Florida. But also, I guess there was also a comic book adaptation of it. But that's a John Carpenter property, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was actually made on Showtime.
Okay.
It was a cable movie. Yeah,
well, they were hoping to have it be like a Tales from the Crypt kind of thing, right? Or
yeah, he plays the coroner or whatever, the ghoul character, your host,
the Crypt Keeper.
But then did it not turn into a show, or did they just decide not to make it into a show, or were they hoping? I can't remember.
No, it didn't go anywhere. I mean, I don't know if it was supposed to become a show, but it's like 3 stories One had Stacy Keach with his hair, which turned out to be like sentient when he got the hair implants or whatever.
The saxophone in that story is priceless.
The first one's probably the best story, and that's the gas station attendant and the escaped killer, the serial killer. I don't remember what the third one was.
Well, I had a few other things to talk about, but let's shuffle them to next week. And one of them is the Buffy sequel.
We should also talk about Black Goat.
Oh yeah, I just noticed that.
We saw that a few years ago, Pete, at the Film Fest. It's now available for public consumption.
Well, are you talking about the Bloody Bites thing?
Yes.
Yeah. Celebrates 100 episodes with Lovecraftian horror short, The Black Goat. There you go. Is it good? I haven't seen it.
Well, let's keep them hanging on for more.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
It's better than Yellow Wallpaper.
Yes, but my vacation movies are better than that too.
You're still bitter about that, aren't you?
Is it a one-shot short, or is it like?
I don't know if they ever got. They were going to make an 8-episode series. I don't know if they ever got funded.
Is it better than Automan?
It's no Manimal, I bet.
No, Automan.
Yeah,
I said you say Automan. I said Manimal.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Pete's a big fan of the Automan series from the 80s.
No.
Pete's a fan of a lot of things.
They're going to be making a new one called the Automan Empire.
That was a blink and you'll miss it. Series.
What about the Man from Atlantis series? Remember that?
No.
I didn't mean. Yeah. When I brought it up, I didn't mean for us to go this way.
What, Bigfoot and Wild Boy?
That's the big plus of this podcast.
Pulled that right out of my ass.
Matt, you got a prize?
Yes, if you want to win or enter to win a copy of the Miskatonic High yearbook, send an email to easyprizes@gmail.com and put Miskatonic in the subject heading. It'll probably be 8 weeks before we draw a winner. So if you're listening to this even a month from now, just go ahead and put in an entry.
It won't be 608 weeks. It'll be 6 or 8 weeks. So, yeah.
And if somebody wants to leave a comment in the YouTube for a gift subscription to the
thanks again.
Patreon, do that.
6 months. So, and thanks to all of my existing and new patrons, and we will see you next week with Madeline Harding and Displaced Person. See you then. Thanks, everybody.